We are happy for all those who sent us text messages congratulating us for the hard work we did in the United Kingdom last Thursday. Now, I'll tell you the story behind it. So on Wednesday, some of our contacts on Wednesday late morning called us and told us that there's a big story coming to London tomorrow. And so we said, what story is it? They said Boris Johnson is going to give a statement at lunchtime on Thursday, and he's going to resign as leader of the Conservative Party. As far as British politics is concerned, that's very significant, because if he resigns as leader of the Conservative Party, it will automatically mean that he resigns as Prime Minister as well. So there was going to be a big resignation from one of the superpowers, at least the fifth largest economy in the world. So what did we do? We looked at it, and we are happy to mention the name of our agent, Abraham. Abraham is a pastor at Lighthouse, by the way, and he's a great travel agent. And so he organized stuff for us. So then we had to speak to Adom-Otchere Martin's people and tell them that the interview that we had scheduled for Thursday live can now be recorded on Wednesday afternoon, because we needed to travel out of country on Wednesday night. Graciously, they agreed. I have to say thank you to Nanayal Sapon and to the other Nanayal. Both of them working for Adom-Otchere Martin, and they agreed to bring the minister into the studio at 3 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon so that we can conduct the interview that will be showed on Thursday. So straight from the interview at 3 o'clock, we put ourselves together, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Then we were at the airport. Bang, we got into London on Thursday morning. As soon as we got into London, we called our guy. His name is A-Class, if he's watching. So I called A-Class, and normally we speak to you with A-Class, don't we? So I said, A-Class, you're about. He said, oh, my bad, maybe Ohana. I said, oh yeah, there's quite a lot of work to do into Wahifa. And then he said, oh, maybe Birmingham. I said, Jesus Christ, this guy is in Birmingham. Now, Birmingham is about 2-3 hours away. And I said, okay, so we need a crew. And so we have our normal crew is usually arranged for us by Philip Osehwe. If he's watching, thank you very much, Philip. So we called Philip, and Philip said, because of the events today, our crew is fully booked, because many journalists have come into the country and are going to cover the event, so we had sort of come late. But A-Class came through for us, and A-Class didn't actually know that the Prime Minister was about to announce a resignation at a lunchtime press conference. He didn't know. So he said, so I said, A-Class, are you crazy? Are you in this country? Don't you know that the Prime Minister is going to resign? He said, hey, Debbie Mintio, Madasa, etc., etc. Anyway, A-Class works for the Ghana High Commission. He's been doing that for a very long time, hardworking Ghanaian. So A-Class found us somebody. So he came, Ghanaian boy. He said to me that he knows about our show because he used to live in Nima. And so we had our Nima conversation. And then straight bang, we hit Westminster. We tried to get our accreditations, made a few phone calls, and then we were allowed to Westminster. And when we got there, two policemen there, we explained to them, because our accreditation was not as it should be, but the police understood, and then they got us into the inner perimeter where we could conduct our interviews with our people. So we did that, and thank you to all of the people who supported this event in London. A-Class, our cameraman and photographer, Philip Osehwe and his team, and all the Ghanaians who we called and said that we were at Westminster, and they gave us a lot of encouragement. And then to our crew here in Ghana, particularly our video editor, Tarek Mandison, who had to be on standby receiving the videos by WeTransfer, and we asked him, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And to Anian Pofo, who also conducted some of the supervision work whilst we were away, to make sure that those videos get on air on Thursday night. We are eternally grateful to all of them. It was a very good and wild experience. As far as we are concerned, the best interview that we had in London was with this lady. She was originally not supposed to be part of the crew that we had arranged, but she was walking past and came to us and said, which country are you from? And we proudly said, Ghana. We said, what are you asking? I said, we're asking people about Boris Johnson's resignation. And then she said, yeah, there's a lot to say about that, because politicians all over the world are not honest these days. And she has a lot to say about that. So we said, okay, come on, and let's do an interview. It turned out to be my favorite interview in what we did on Thursday at Westminster at the presence of the British Parliament. Let's have a look at it again. This is the Iraqi woman who says she's Iraqi-British and is very, very astute at political analysis. All right, madam, you said you don't like Boris Johnson, but why?
Yeah, because he cheated us about the Brexit in last election, and they promised people a lot of things, and they did nothing. And the end, he just hired someone, and he knows about what he did, but he just hid it. So in last minute, he insists to not resign. So good for him and for us to resign. Bye-bye.
But he hasn't resigned yet as Prime Minister. He's resigned as a leader of the party.
Oh, this is what I expect exactly yesterday. I told my friend he will not leave the chair of Prime Minister. He will leave the party.
That's what he did at lunchtime.
I'm sorry to say that, but in the end, politics people are the same everywhere. In Iraq, in UK, in other places, all of them just hold the chair to the last minute they can.
Are you from Iraq?
Yes, I am British Iraqi.
What do you make of Iraq today?
What?
What do you make of Iraq today? Is it better?
It's very difficult to answer. We can't compare worse with the bad. It's both of them are not good. Not in Saddam Hussein time, not in that time as well. But we're looking forward.
What kind of leader do you want for Britain after Boris Johnson?
Someone be honest. Someone he respect people. Someone he's really care about poor people and middle class people and the other as well. It's not like telling lies for people. Just be honest for the people.
So do you like the Labour Party more?
Sometimes I'm not supporting any party actually, but at least like, you know, in UK, it's just like some period of time, Labour come, promise people, they failed to do something, and then people just like go to vote to the Conservative come, promise people for another and fail to do that. It's just a cycle, and we lost our age between both of them. So it's hopefully, you know, like the prices everywhere is just goes up. No one think about poor people, and this is really sad.
Are you a Muslim?
Yeah, I am.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you very much. That's a good.
All right, so that was our best interview. Thank you very much to the lady. We didn't even get her name, and we didn't get a photograph with her. Wherever she is in the world, I'm sure she'll see it on social media because it's been heavily shared, and hopefully she would know that she did quite a good job. Many people have been sending texts and telling me that, did you see what the woman was saying? When you come, you tell Akufa do that. Da, 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 da. All right, the conversation in Britain is quite interesting, isn't it? Whilst we are talking about adopting the British political system, and I've been pushing that agenda as well, adopting the British political system because it guarantees more accountability to our people. The problem we are having in Ghana is that accountability is very low. And when I appeared before the Dr. Tuguba's Constitution Review Committee, the Professor Mills one, I made the point to them that let us create a presidential question time akin to the Westminster parliamentary question time so that we can add a bit to the accountability issue, because the accountability is a problem. Now, if we have to choose a political system that gives us the best accountability, it is the British parliamentary system. It will mean that all ministers are members of parliament anyway, but we think that is the better one for us to start with. The other reason that gives us a lot of confidence about why we need a system is the way in which that system was chucked out of the Ghanaian political conversation. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah decided in 1960, when he was being heavily criticized, that he actually doesn't need a system that is criticizing him every day. The demerit of the British political system is that if you do that, and that's why the British are complaining, you don't have a prime minister who has a focus to run for 4 or 5 years and do his work, because every day he's checking whether parliament is about to pass a vote of no confidence in him. And that's what happened, because in the parliamentary system in Britain, there is no date for elections like we have December 7. No. The prime minister comes in, election can be next month. If a vote of no confidence is passed to him, it will be so. And then there will be election. And if there's an issue like e-levy that is dividing parliament, you stop the parliament and go to a general election. And one side will campaign for e-levy, the other side will campaign against e-levy. The side that wins means that the general public have agreed with him. So that's how it works. That's why we had elections in 1951, 1954, and 1956. 1954 and 1956 is just 2 years away. So really, it was not ready for an election. But why did we have an election then? It was an election about what kind of independence constitution we should have. Dr. Nkrumah thought we should have a unitary constitution, which we still have. The opposition thought we should have a federal constitution, which Nigeria has. And then they argued about it. The Mr. Speaker suspended the House, and they went to an election. The Ghanaian people voted for the CPP, and that's why we have a unitary constitution in 1957 at the time of independence. So that's how that one works. In 1960, Dr. Nkrumah said, I don't want to deal with these things. Let's go for a presidential system where I know I have 4 years to run. If I'm elected president, I have 4 years, nothing will happen, nothing will change. I can focus. 4 years' time, I go back to the electorate. and then I get the vote, and then I can come back. So the next election was due in 1964, and of course, you know that election was cancelled because Ghana was turned to a one-party state 2 years later. The first coup occurred in 1966. So that's the story. Now, that's the reason why we think getting back the parliamentary system will put our politicians on their toes. It will put our leaders on their toes, and that's why we prefer actually that one. But in Britain, they are also calling for presidential system. When I spoke to British journalists, they were worried about this. Boris Johnson today, vote of no confidence, tomorrow that, as soon as there's economic hardship, this and that. And they also want a presidential system like ours, like the Americans. Interesting, isn't it? One part of the world wants yours, the other part wants theirs. That's very interesting, but we think the parliamentary system is fine. So, before we go to the IMF story, and as we end the British story, here's a video of a guy. I don't know whether he's a poet or he's a journalist. The guy runs down Boris Johnson with interesting words, and it sort of depicts the conversation in the British society about the class struggle. You know, Karl Marx said that the history of the world is the history of class struggle. This one epitomizes the class struggle in Britain. Hear him. See this video.
How can someone with demonstrably questionable morals and a more than casual relationship with the truth reach such a powerful position? One word springs to mind: entitlement. Boris comes from a long succession of posh, upper-class, bumbling idiots who are destined for greatness only because no one has ever or will ever tell them they're not. Boris went to Eton, a sort of Hogwarts for wankers, where you get taught Latin and tax avoidance whilst wearing full evening dress. These people have never spoken to a real person in their life, apart from perhaps their chauffeur. Then on to Oxford, where Boris Johnson was part of the infamous Bullingdon Club, a fun, elite social club for the boys. Activities included smashing up restaurants and burning £50 notes in front of homeless people. Allegedly.
But, you know, it was great fun at the time.
And the British government is full of them. Entitled assholes with a Bentley and a nanny making decisions for us all about things that they will never understand. Aristocrats running the 5th largest economy in the world whilst allowing 30% of British children to live in relative poverty, where the rich get richer and the poor literally get hungrier. Millionaires who spend their time in government giving tax breaks and PPE contracts to their rich mates. Cannibals, self-serving parasites, tapeworms in tiaras, swimming through the intestines of the state, sucking all the goodness out of it for their own repugnant gratification. Boris was born into wealth. He never wanted for anything, never really earned his place in the world. A narcissistic serial shagger, an opportunistic liar who's happy to work outside the law and the realms of accepted decency, and who has dragged his once great political party into scandal and moral bankruptcy. Sound familiar? You can see where I'm going with this, right? Boris and Trump, both products of a broken political system that rewards ignorance and hubris. And like Trump, Boris says he loves his country, yet Boris and his cabal of vicious right-wing populists show open disdain for all the things good about it. The NHS, the welfare state, teachers and judges, the courts. They hate the BBC and allow corporations to churn raw sewage into our rivers and beaches, selling off and deregulating anything they can for a quick buck, allowing and openly encouraging the country to rot from the inside out so they can sell it for scrap to the highest bidder. Bring it back a bit. Yeah, too much. Too much. It was the self-serving parasites, wasn't it? Okay, let's go for another.